Hey, Grand Valley, Mayor Todd here with my first Q&A that I'm going to be doing over here on the internet, all virtually. I do have a couple pages worth of questions that were submitted to me, so I'm going to go through those. I'll tell them about those. So, we'll do another one of these next week, and I'll put another post up. If you have anything you want to ask me, feel free to send it in. I know that we're getting a lot of questions about stuff, particularly the city complex. The city, kind of everything going on with COVID-19. We weren't going to push that. Still not really pushing it, but you will see information from us about it coming out, just because we're having so many questions about it that we're not just going to ignore those questions. So we will be getting that information out about that. So feel free if you have questions about that, send them my way. 80% of the questions tonight are probably related to that in one way or another. So we'll go through that. But I just want to say, we're not, promoting it like it was. There will be some people around town promoting it that are really in favor of it. So you will probably see some signs and stuff going up, but that's not the city related to that. That's a group of citizens who are doing that. So I want to do these virtual things because in the time of the pandemic, typically we'd be going door to door. Right now, I have lots of individuals who want to go door to door, but I don't think that people really feel comfortable with people that know coming to their door. So I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to do this. If you do want, to see face-to-face time with somebody and talk to somebody about, myself as mayor or the complex or any of that stuff, let me know. We can get somebody to come out and talk to you. But I thought this was better than, going around door to door, taking stuff to your doors and all that. So I wanted to do this. I also wanted to clear up any inaccuracies that are out there. I know with social media and other things that we do get, inaccuracies, and the facts get kind of skewed at times. To me, on some numbers I've been seeing people post, it looks like that some people are rounding numbers up to like the nearest 1 million. I don't really think when you have numbers that are like 600,000, you round those to 1 million. But it kind of appears that might be what's happening from what the numbers I'm seeing are. So I'll go through that a little bit of where I'm seeing that. I already kind of talked about my notes here, talk about the complex, didn't want to push that. But, we're getting a lot of questions about that. So again, any questions you have about the complex, send those my way. I'll still, answer those for you. Okay, first question I had was regarding the Snybar Farms property cost, what the city spent for the Snybar Farms property. There were actually two transactions there when we purchased it. One was for $750,000, and another one was for $175,000. We then sold a partial of that for around $300,000. So right now, all in with the price of the land at the Snybar Farms area, we are at about $625,000 is what we have into it. I've seen numbers floating around that say we have $1 million into the property. We don't. We have $625,000 into the property. And then that's not counting any future partnerships we may have. If the complex, does move forward in a couple of years, whatever, the library was going to be part of that, and the library would be purchasing land from us as well. So that would bring that $625,000 down even further. So just wanted to clarify, we don't have $1 million into it. We've got about 625, and that number should even come down further in the future. So I also got asked about, did we look at remodeling of the current buildings? And yes, we did. Now, we didn't look at it to the fact that I have like hard numbers of what it would cost, because we didn't go that far once we started getting into it and saw the challenges that we faced. One big challenge we faced would be that the land there. So we have no intention of selling Armstrong Park, so that's going to stay. There's about 14 acres there total in the site, 7 of that being Armstrong Park, where the skate park is, the shelter houses, and the 2 ball fields that are there. Those will stay. That's not part of anything we're looking at. So that leaves about 7 acres, which would be the the area behind the community center, parking lots, and then City Hall. So you have about 7 acres there to work with. That's one of the challenges right there. It's just the land needed. I mean, at the Snybar Farms property, you're looking at around 50, 52 acres that you'd be looking at utilizing. There, you'd be trying to expand onto 7 acres. We did look at that. One thing we've always heard about the city hall is that when it was built to go up, so you could add a second story to that. So we had engineers look at the building, and they said that it was not designed to be built up. The first thing they look at when they do that is the elevator shaft. The elevator shaft is not made in such a way that you would expand the elevator to another floor. The second thing they look at are footings and like how the building foundation. The building foundations and footings were not designed to have the weight of a second story either. So trying to go to the second story would be a great cost. So we didn't go any further with that. We also have, if you've ever been there, you'll see where the utilities are located there. A lot of utility moving would have to happen there also. So that was another challenge we faced was, the utilities. So now we have the utilities, we have the land, and it's not designed to build up. That, and there are issues with the building that we've tried to repair, particularly the roofs. The roofs on both buildings have really given us fits. We do have leaks in the buildings. There has been mold found in places in the building, so we're always constantly trying to fix that. I think part of that's because it's a flat roof, and flat roofs aren't always the greatest for drainage. So I think that's what leads to our roof problem there. Another question I got then was about phases of the project. Now, everyone talks about these phases. Yes, this one's $38 million. But then we're going to have another phase. Okay. This bond issue would be for a complete project. I wish they would have used different language when they talked about the phases. I don't know why they called it that. This bond issue, if you chose to vote on it, would build City Hall, police station, community center, park amenities. There'd be some equipment there, and a splash pad. That would all be part of this. Indoor pool would be part of the community center. Future expansion that they had was when they did the design, they showed things like baseball fields. That would be a future phase if the city decided to do that. Now, one of the reasons they put baseball fields there was because at the time, the city was possibly looking at selling Armstrong Park, which would get rid of 2 ball fields. And if you have kids involved in ball like I do, you realize that ball fields are a hot commodity. We need as many as we can. So that was one possible phase, as you would say, that would be the addition of ball fields. Personally, I don't really want to see the additional ball fields at that location. I think we'd be better served adding ball fields to Monkey Mountain when that time came. Just from the fact that you have more ball fields in one area, you open yourself up to having more tournaments, larger things like that. That brings people into town, spend money here, tax money from outside town if their kids are playing ball here. I know when we had a son playing ball that we constantly had to go to Kansas and other places because that's where the ball fields are and that's where the tournaments are. So if you're going to add ball fields, I think Monkey Mountain is really the place to add them. Something else that was thrown into future phase was the larger outdoor pool. That was a future phase if we decided we need that. When we did the survey, majority of people said they would be happy with an indoor pool. I know the outdoor pool is a hot topic. It would be designed in such a way that it could be added pretty easily in the future. Also, an amphitheater was part of that. That may or may not be something that would happen. I don't know if amphitheater is a huge need for us or not, but they just, they design these things where if we wanted to do them in the future, it was designed in such a way where we could easily do it. Something we're kind of lacking now at our current facility is we don't have, future expansion built into it. When they talk about future phases, also they talk about expansion onto the buildings. These buildings should be, by all of our studies, should be large enough to service for at least the next 20 years. But 20 years comes down, and the city has grown to 25, 30,000 people, and we need larger facilities. These buildings and the site are designed in such a way that it's easy to do that, and then we can add on there. Kind of unlike what we have now, where it's more difficult to add on to. So that was all kind of forethought, thinking ahead for the future. It doesn't mean that it's not a complete project. Doesn't mean you're going to be coming back for more bond issues in the future. Real quick to do that. Now, if, they choose 5 years from now or 3 years from now or 2 years from now or whatever the project approves. Everyone in town's like, hey, we want an outdoor pool. That's something that the cost is to the point where they might actually be able to do that with or without a bond. So I don't see ball fields, amphitheater, that type of stuff anytime soon, and I don't see the addition on the buildings need to be done anytime soon. So you could say, I guess, we want to call them phases, but I don't really think they're phases. I just think they're future planning for the project. One of the questions I got was, would voters have to pass new phases if they're, large enough amounts of money? Then yes. I mean, if it's money that can be, saved up and bought, then yes. I mean, like outdoor pool may not be something that has to be bonded because they may be able to just make payments on that out of the regular general fund and not have to issue debt for it. So operating costs. So I know that think larger buildings, larger operating costs, and add additional employees. We wouldn't be looking at adding additional employees on like the city hall side and that stuff. I mean, the problem we have now is we have employees that are actually whose offices are actually what were designed as closets. So we need to get employees into real offices, especially now with we have employees stacked on top of each other. Especially now with COVID-19, we need to get employees spread apart to where we don't have shutdowns like we did. So that was the reason they were looking at that. Now the community center, of course, it's a larger community center, year-round pool. Yes, you would have to definitely add employees to that. What the city was looking at doing, and if it did pass, what they would still look at doing would be an agreement with the YMCA. So those would actually all be YMCA employees. The YMCA would run that, and so forth. So that would all that operating costs, everything, then it gets covered by the YMCA in the agreement that they would have with the city. Okay. Money spent on promotion of the project. I had a question about money spent on promotion. No, there was numbers for around like $500,000 that were spent on promotion. Around $500,000 has been spent on the project, but it's not promoting the project. Promoting the project would be like putting yard signs out and things like that. The city's not doing that. That money was not spent for promotion. What that money was spent on was design, citizen surveys, plans, the meetings we had where we had citizen input on things. That's what that money was spent on. Majority of it on actual design. If you go to the Envision Grand Valley website, you can see mock-ups of what the buildings would look like, what the site plan looks like. That's where that money went. I mean, let's see, unfortunately, you have to spend that money up front because if not, you would just be going to residents and saying, hey, here's a bond issue, vote for it. We don't have anything to show you with it. So you do have to spend some money up front to be able to get the renderings, the design, and to figure out what people want by having those meetings. And we had pretty good turnout at a couple of those. They take that input back and put that into the project. That's when we had things like people wanted lazy rivers. So we wanted the lazy river in there. The lap pool, those types of things, a larger workout room. So that's what that money was spent on. It wasn't spent on promoting the project. It was spent on the design of the project and things like that we needed to show people. What's in the plan for the current property? So I kind of went to Armstrong Parks Days. So there's 7 acres there. Typically with city property like that, what they do is they ask for a request for proposals. So we issue that. Developers then would look at the site and they would basically almost like a silent bid process, come back to the board and say, this is how much we're willing to give you for the property, and this is what we plan on doing with the property, be it a hotel, office building, restaurant sites. They would tell us what they were proposing to do with it and how much they would pay us. The board can select one of those or not select any of them if they choose to do that, and they can just put it on the market and sell it like regular real estate. So that's what they would do. And that would just be for the 7 acres that's not Armstrong Park. So City Hall, parking lots, community center, and then the field and pavilion area behind the community center. That's the area we're talking about with that. I did ask where would the fair go. As you know, my wife and I, being in the fair, we organize a lot of the fair. So that's something we've definitely thought about. There is room at some of our property that, that's what happens. We can put the fair there. I know we've also, every year we get requests to move the fair downtown on Main Street. like I know Blue Springs does that, St. Calgon and Independence is like that, but it's kind of a more difficult for us to do that because you're looking at we would be blocking like the main artery in town, so that's what we always have to consider. So there's two options: we could go Main Street or we could go Snibar Plaza. Sorry, my dogs are barking for whatever reason. So that's what happens when you have dogs. I like to bark at people. So at least it's not like during the Alderman meeting the other night where one of them busted out of the fence and went running after a rabbit, and my daughter actually broke her foot chasing the dog through the back. So that was a trip. So yeah, they're just barking. So now they're fine. Where's the fair go? So two locations, Main Street. If we decide to go that route, it would take some planning because there's power you have to consider, getting the power there for the things that need power. Unfortunately, when MoDOT put in the poles on Main Street, the light poles, they didn't put outlets in them. So we'd have to see if this could be retrofitted for outlets because we would need power. The biggest issue, though, would just be the traffic snarl up of closing Main Street down, because in order to get it all set up and broke down, you're looking at probably closing Main Street for 4 days. So I don't know if that's, a wise thing to do or not. So we have some options of where the fair would go. Don't worry, we still have the fair. We would definitely figure something out with the fair. I did have a question too about the pool. So with the pool, and people are like, the pool doesn't seem to be, much larger square footage wise. Well, the difference is the pool would be, if the citizens chose to go that way, the pool is designed in such a way where it's more usable. Right now, we have a very large, deep end of the pool where if you have kids, kids don't necessarily hang out in the deep end because you're actually having to swim. They like to be able to touch the bottom. So the shallow area is more usable. So majority of the pool now, if your residents choose to do that, would be shallow into the pool. You would have the lap pool area, which would be a deeper end. So those who want the deeper water would really go to the lap area and swim your laps and stuff. But for the kids, it would be more of a shallow water pool. So right now we have what you consider maybe a lot of wasted space in the pool with the deep ends that kids don't play in. So that's why the pool, doesn't seem to be a whole, there's not a lot of change in the pool. So I told you a lot of these questions about the complex. Effect on taxes. How would taxes be affected? It is a no new tax increase bond issue. So there's no new taxes. So your taxes will not go up because of the bond issue. Now, I'll be honest with you. Could taxes go down if you vote no? Yes, they could, depending on how assessed valuations come back and stuff. The city may have to do what's called a Hancock rollback and roll your taxes back some. So voting yes your taxes won't go up, but voting no, your taxes could go down. They could not. You don't know that until the county comes back with their assessments. And as we know, their assessments were kind of crazy this year. So debt impact, it does have a debt impact because it is debt. $38 million is debt, so it does have debt impact. People, get worried about the cities, maxing out their debt. The thing is, if a growing city like ours, we continually pay down more and more debt every year. We can pay more off, and our actually debt ceiling gets increased every year based on our assessed valuation going up. So it's not really, it would be maxed out based on what we have now. But all the new houses being built, all the new businesses being built, all of those increase your assessed valuation. So that would increase that ceiling for the debt. Okay, here's pool.
Are you still on there?
Okay, I know street repairs have been mentioned as something that people ask about street repairs, what we do with street repairs, and how we're looking at that. We have actually increased the amount of money that we've spent on street repairs the last few years. This year we have just short of $350,000 budgeted just for street repairs. That's actually like street overhauls or redos. And I'll talk about, we have more money also. That is pretty much double what it was a couple of years ago. So we've kept increasing that. This year, we also had a new program where we hired somebody that you might have saw that was a post on Facebook about it. We had a van with lasers. They came out, lasered the streets, figured out how thick the asphalt was in places, how sturdy it was, how close it was to failing, those things. I know a lot of us think, oh, we can go out and look at the street and say, oh, yeah, that street needs to be repaired. Look at it, we can tell. This actually gives us a more scientific way of saying, hey, this street needs to be first compared to this street, and this is why. So that's why we did that. So it'll rank the streets, and we will know what streets for sure need to be fixed first and which ones, so on forth. I can tell you, like this year, Shorthorn is a large street here in town. Shorthorn will get a full reconstruction this year. When we do those reconstructions, there's also concrete work with curbs and sidewalks. That's a separate pot of money. That is not part of that roughly $350,000. We have we have another concrete fund that pays for that. So that's not part of that. So sidewalks, curbs is not part of that street money. We also have a separate pot of money for repairs. This would be like your basic repairs, not your total reconstructions. And this could be more than just filling a pothole. This could be, deep patching and things like that. That's a separate pot of money for repairs. So as you see, we have 3 different things working on street repairs, and we have continued to increase that every year. The problem we have with streets is the town grew a large amount in a 10-year period. We were per capita second fastest growing city between 2000 and 2010. Only Woodsville was faster. When you're growing that fast and adding that many houses, you're adding a lot more streets. You're adding a lot of streets at the same time. So a lot of our streets are exactly the same age. That means when your streets are the same age, they start to fail at the same time. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the streets failing now also. Another reason why you see a lot of streets fail now is because back, for my time, back when we were doing that stuff, in 2000, we didn't have the inspectors we have now to go out and inspect the streets to make sure that proper, base material and those types of things are being laid down. I mean, there have been streets in town that we have bored that have no base material, and that's why they fall apart and need to be repaired really faster than they should be. So, we don't have that problem nowadays with streets being built. We have inspectors, public works inspectors that go out and check and make sure that the grade of concrete on curbs and sidewalks is up to code, that the base material is there on streets, the asphalt is the correct thickness, all that stuff. We inspect all that stuff nowadays. Back when the town was growing super fast, not all that was getting inspected like it should have been. Okay, we're getting off the streets off the complex. We'll go another off the complex. Restaurants. Last night we announced the site plans for Burger King. I know people are like, oh, Burger King, it's another fast food restaurant. We want, sit down restaurants. I can tell you that we have had conversations with sit down restaurants, and I thought some of them were going good before the whole COVID-19 thing. I think, unfortunately, we're probably going to see sit down restaurant expansion probably slide off a little bit right now, because I don't think sit down restaurants are going to want to expand in the we have now with the pandemic until everything is cleared up. We've talked to the Freddy's of the world and the White Castles of the world. White Castle was dead set on coming back to the Kansas City market after they closed their 2 stores here. We talked to them every year as we're not coming back to Kansas City. Only 2 White Castles we've ever had to close were in Kansas City. So they're kind of, putting out fillers again for Kansas City. So that might be something in the future. That White Castle will be coming back to the area. Freddy's is always looking at expanding. I mean, those are going to be the type of restaurants we get, those fast food or fast casuals. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to, right now see the sit-down restaurants, and I don't think a lot of communities are going to see new sit-down restaurants just from the fact that they can't fill their dining rooms up because of COVID-19, and this could go on for I don't know how long. So I think they're probably going to put those on pause for now. Okay, another thing, we had some people making comments about the amount of money I've paid out in severance packages for city administrators. So think about positions like city administrators are, they typically have contracts, typically have severance packages, typically negotiate those things when there's a separation. Also, when there's a separation, there's something that usually in there says that we can't talk about amounts and why it happened and all that, so I can't go into that. I will actually tell you that if you want to see some numbers, and one of my opponents, Jeff Craney, has a Facebook page where for his mayor's Facebook page, and he actually has posted separation agreement on there that shows you the true numbers. And if you get on there and look at the numbers, you'll see that the numbers that are actually the true numbers in the separation agreement are different than what people are getting taped to the door and what they're hearing. So I would, recommend that you check that out if that's something that you're interested in. So again, I can tell you there's a lot of rounding of numbers going on, and a lot of speculation about two other types of numbers. Okay, and finally, I wanted to address came to my attention the other night too. We didn't get to see it because everybody I know was blocked on the post, but somebody accused me of campaigning at the sanitizer pass out that we did for the city. I can tell you, I did not mention anything about the election at the sanitizer pass out. The only reason we did that was for the safety of the community, because people couldn't find it. It had nothing to do with politics. Did it to help the community. I know we actually even went and did door deliveries. We were dropping off the front porch. I really want to make it political. I would put like signs and stuff for letters on bottles. We did not do that. So I did not tell anybody to vote for me. I did not even mention the election at all during a sanitizer pass out. We actually had a lot of people going through and recording it on like their cell phones, I guess because maybe they're wanting to keep like a COVID-19 journal or something. So, all those you would see that the only thing was said was, be safe, or we would explain what it could be used for. So biggest thing is if you have a question about anything you hear or see or gets taped to your door or anything, feel free to reach out to me to, ask the questions, verify the information or whatnot, and see if it's true. You can always email me at mayor@cityofgrandvalley.org, or, feel free to call me at 816-719-9436. Like I said, I'm free to answer any questions anytime. And also on my Facebook page, feel free to answer any questions on that you may want. I will do another one of these next week in which I will answer more questions. So if there's anything I did not cover tonight that you want to know, please send that to me. And I'll usually even reply back with like a short synopsis on Facebook, because I don't want you to think that, someone give you like a thumbs up or okay and want you to have to wait a week. So I'll give you like a synopsis of what the answer is, and I can go in more detail when I talk on here. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you for taking the time out to watch this.